If you are listening to this voice right now, then I am already dead. I don't know who found this recording. I don't know how it reached you. But I need you to stay. Don't skip. Don't look away. Because what I am about to tell you is not a story. It is a confession. And the only reason I am making it is because somewhere out there, a man is sitting exactly where I once sat, tired, hungry, desperate, and about to make the same choice I made. I need him to hear me before it is too late. My name is Daniel. I was 34 years old. I had a wife named Adiz, a son named Chukwamika, and a daughter named Blessing. And I loved them. God knows I loved them more than I loved my own breath. But real love does not fill a stomach. It does not pay school fees. It does not stop a landlord from knocking on your door at 6 in the morning, calling your name loud enough for all your neighbors to hear. I remember one night, Adiz sat across from me at the table. We had just finished eating, and I said eating loosely because what was on that table was not a meal. It was a performance. She looked at me and she said, very quietly, she said, "Daniel, talk to me. What are we going to do?" And I said, "Adiz, I'm handling it. Just give me time." She nodded. She stood up. She started clearing the plates. And just before she turned away, I saw it, that look. Not anger. Not disgusted. Something worse. Pity. My wife looked at me with pity. And I sat at that table after she left, and I pressed my fists against my eyes because I could not let her hear me come apart. I was a mechanic. Or I was trying to be. The man who owned the workshop owed me 3 months of salary. Every time I asked, he said, "Next week, Daniel. Next week." I was doing odd jobs on the side, carrying loads at the market, or other available jobs I could lay my hands on. My hands were always dirty and my pockets were always empty. And every morning, my son Emeka would come to me before school, uniform pressed because his mother made sure of that, and he would say, "Papa, my teacher said if we don't pay by Friday, they will send me home again." And I would put my hand on his head and say, "You won't be sent home. Papa will handle it." And he would look up at me with those trusting, innocent eyes and nod. Because he believed me. A 9-year-old boy believed his father even when his father. Then Blessing got sick. High fever. Day 1, I thought it would pass. Day 2, she couldn't eat. Day 3, she was burning so hot I could feel the heat through my palm when I touched her forehead, and she was calling my name in her sleep. "Papa, Papa," like I could fix it just by being there. I carried her to the clinic on my back. The doctor examined her. She came out and handed me a paper medication, blood work, and a drip. She said, "You need to pay a deposit before we begin treatment." I looked at that paper. I looked at the number. And then I looked back through the door where my daughter was lying on that clinic bed, small and still and burning. I said, "Doctor, please. Can I bring the money tomorrow? I will bring it. I swear." She looked at me, not unkindly, but firmly. She said, "Sir, we cannot start without the deposit." I walked outside. I sat on the ground outside that clinic. A grown man sat on the concrete ground, and I said to the sky, I said it out loud, "Whatever it takes. God, whatever it takes. I will do anything." The night swallowed those words. And somewhere, something heard them. That was when Kingsley called. I had not spoken to Kingsley in months. He was a man from the next compound who had disappeared for almost 2 years and returned with money he could not explain. New car, new clothes, gold chain, but no job, no business, no explanation. People whispered, but nobody questions a man whose money starts solving neighborhood problems. He called me that specific night like he had been waiting for exactly the right moment. He said, "Daniel, I heard about your daughter. How is she?" I said, "She's in the clinic. I'm trying to sort out the bill." He said, "How much?" I told him. He said, "I'll send it now. Don't worry." And he did. Just like that. Money on my phone within 2 minutes. And then he said, "Daniel, when your daughter is better, I want to take you somewhere. I want to show you something. Just come and see. No pressure. No commitment. Just come and see." I said, "What kind of place?" He said, A place where men like us get opportunities that men like us are never supposed to have. I should have said no. Looking back now, standing here on the edge of everything, I know I should have said no. But my daughter was burning in a clinic bed, and this man had just paid her bill without blinking. So I said, okay, when my daughter is better, we will talk. Blessings recovered in 2 days. She came home and ran into my arms and said, Papa, I'm hungry. And I laughed. I laughed so hard and held her so tight that she squealed and said, Papa, you are pressing me. And I thought that feeling, that specific feeling of holding your healthy child, I thought, that is worth everything. That is worth anything. 3 weeks later, I got in Kingsley's car. We drove for 2.5 hours. I watched the city disappear behind us. I watched the towns thin out. I watched the road turn from tarmac to dirt. The trees on both sides grew taller, denser, darker. I said, Kingsley, where exactly are we going? He said, not far now. I said, you keep saying that. He said, Daniel, relax. I have done this. I am fine. You can see I am fine. I looked at him. He was fine on the outside. But there was something about the way he was holding the steering wheel too tight, knuckles showing, that told me a different story. Then I saw the tree, on the left side of the road, a massive Irako tree, and tied to it white cloth, bound in a way that was not decorative, not random. At the base of it, in the headlights, I could see small things. Feathers. Something dark and poured. A clay pot on its side. I said, Kingsley, stop the car. What is that? He said, without looking, road marker. Traditional things. Leave it. I said, road marker to where? He didn't answer. We arrived at a compound that had no business existing that deep in a forest. High concrete walls, freshly painted white. A generator humming inside. 2 men at the gate who looked at me the way you look at livestock assessing, not greeting. Inside, Kingsley walked me through a corridor and then said, I'll wait for you here. I said, you are not coming in. He said, I already had my meeting. This one is yours. He pointed me to a door. I opened it. The room was small, cool, which made no sense given the heat outside. 1 chair on my side of the table. 1 chair on the other side. A single candle burning in the center, even though there was a light bulb on the ceiling. And on the table a folded piece of paper, a small clay cup with something dark and thick inside it, and an object I will not describe. I cannot describe it without feeling my chest close up. Then the door behind the other chair opened, and a man walked in, or something wearing the shape of a man. He sat down. He smiled. His voice was frighteningly pleasant, like a radio presenter, like someone who had practiced sounding human. He said, Daniel, you've been carrying a very heavy load. I said, how do you know my name? He said, I know more than your name. I know what you want. I know what you're willing to do for your family. And I respect that. I want to help you. He slid a paper across to me. He told me what I would receive. The number was obscene. More money than I could earn in 20 years. He said it would come silently, without trace, without question. He said, all I ask is a small exchange. I said, exchange of what? He unfolded the paper. He said, read it. And I could read it. Every word. In a language I had never learned, but understood completely in that room, in that moment, like the words were bypassing my eyes and writing themselves directly onto my understanding. The exchange was this. I would have 3 years. 3 full years of wealth, comfort, and the family I had always wanted to protect. And at the end of the 3rd year, you will not be remembered by the very family you thought you were saving. Your name will fade from their lips like you never existed. The wealth will come. Yes, it will flood their lives, filling every corner hunger once lived. But you will be gone from their hearts. Your body will not find peace. It will rot while you still breathe, your flesh betraying you as maggots begin to claim what is left of your humanity. Every second will stretch into torment, a punishment you cannot escape. And still, the money will remain. It will grow, multiply, and bless your family with comfort, but at the cost of your existence and their memory. You will watch from the shadows, decaying, forgotten. You will be the sacrifice for you to obtain riches. And I imagine myself seeing one morning, my wife would wake up and look at my face and feel nothing. No recognition. No memory. Like I had never been in her life at all. My children would look at me and see a stranger. Complete. Irreversible. I would still be alive. But I would be dead to the only people that made me alive. I stood up. I said, no. No, this is madness. I am leaving. He didn't stop me. He didn't raise his voice. He simply turned to a dark glass panel on the wall beside him. And suddenly, I could see through it, or it showed me something. I still don't know which. I could see my house. I could see my daughter, Blessing, lying on her mattress, fever returned, worse than before, whimpering. I could see Adiz on her knees beside her, praying and crying at the same time, saying, God, please. God, please. Not my child. I could hear her voice. I could smell the room. He said, calmly, you can walk out of here, and she may survive on her own. Or you may sign, and she will be well before morning. The choice is yours, Daniel. It has always been yours. I want you to understand something. I want you to understand that at that moment, I was not a man making a business decision. I was a father watching his daughter suffer. And that is a particular kind of madness that no human being is designed to think clearly through. God forgive me. I picked up the pen. The money came in 3 days. My daughter's fever broke that same night I signed before I even got home. Adiz called me to say Blessing had sat up and asked for food. We moved within 2 months. Better house. Better neighborhood. School fees paid in full. Adiz started a small business. I gave her capital and watched her face light up in a way I had not seen in years. My son Emeka came first in his class that term and ran to show me his result and said, Papa, you said things would get better. You were right. And I held that paper and I smiled. And I cried inside where he couldn't see it. Because the clock had already started. Every morning I woke up and the first thing I did before prayer, before anything, was look at my wife's face and search for it. That flicker, that fraction of a second of not knowing me. Some mornings I thought I saw it, and I would spend the whole day sick with fear. Some mornings she would hold my face in her hands and say, Daniel, you worry too much. We are fine. We are together. What more do you need? And I would want to tell her. I wanted to tell her so many times. But how do you tell the woman you love that you sold her memory of you? How do you say those words? 14 months in, my son called me uncle. Once. Just once. And he corrected himself immediately, laughed it off, said he didn't know why he said it. But I excused myself to the bathroom, and I held that sink, and I could not breathe for 3 full minutes. I knew the contract was running. I drove back to the forest. The first time, the compound was there, but no one came to the gate. The second time, I couldn't find the road, the same road I had driven on twice before, and I could not find it. The third time, I found the tree. Just the tree. And tied to it now, in place of the white cloth, was a small folded paper. My handwriting. The contract. With one corner already burned away. 1/3 gone. 2/3 remaining. I came home that night, and Adiz was waiting on the porch. She came to me immediately. She held my face. She said, Daniel, talk to me. You haven't been yourself for months. What is happening? I am your wife. Talk to me. And I looked at her. And she still knew me. She still knew my face, my name, the weight of my hands. She still loved me. And I thought maybe if I hold on tight enough. I came downstairs, and she looked up from the stove. And her face, that fraction of a second, gone in an instant, replaced by a smile. But I saw it. That tiny, terrible blankness. Like looking at a man you feel you should recognize, but cannot quite